Peabo Bryson, hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP today.
Jason, nice to see you. Nice to be with you this morning.
We're talking to you, the two-time Grammy-winning Peabo Bryson, because you're coming to Bethesda Blues and Jazz on Saturday night. It's a nice little supper club there in Bethesda, Maryland. Have you ever played that spot before? I mean, for you, you probably tour the country. It's hard to keep track of all, but do you know if you ever have?
I think it's one I've missed.
Oh, well, we're excited so you can add it to the list. It's a really good one. Well, tell us about the show itself. I want to talk all about your career in a second, but tell us about the particular, maybe, I don't mean to spoil the set list, but you know what I mean? Like, give us a hint of it's going to be like the greatest hits.
Well, yeah, we do. We do a greatest hits thing and all that. And we also do a section where I'm playing guitar and showing some of my other skills and actually validating being a composer and a writer in a way that most people are not able to do, because we live in a day and age where of the philosophy of I am who I say I am. You don't have to actually really be able to do anything.
Right.
So it's cool when you can share with your audience your musical skills, as well as have a chat with them so that they get a sense of who you really are. And I think that the dialogue and the conversation is probably as important as the music is. If you come to a Peabo Bryson concert and you don't get and afterwards you don't have a sense that if you ran into me on the street the next day or so, you were going to lunch, you would invite me. You would feel free to invite me to. Of course, you'd have to pay, but
right. You got to pick up the tab.
Yeah, exactly. But you would feel free to invite me, because the dialogue and during the program is that important, and it's also that intimate, and it's also that informative. So there's a section where I think it's appropriate, where 3 or more people gather together in the name of music, that you should probably acknowledge some of the great artists and the great music that represent great music that have gone on to their transition, the same transition that we all have to make. So I think that I get a chance to share these little anecdotes of what my experience with them was, what our relationship was, and all that. And I've been around long enough to actually have had relationships with quite a few people, and some of them are really quite iconic. And I think if you come to the concert, I'll tell you stories that you've never heard about said artists and all that, what they were really like, and so you have a sense of who they were in a way that's more comprehensive than you would have had.
Who are some of those artists that that have passed, or as you said, transition that you'll talk about?
I think that great artists like Al Jarreau should never be forgotten. I don't think any artist should be forgotten, but the great Al Jarreau and the great James Ingram, the legendary Bill Withers. You talk about people like that. It's like their music is going to be here forever. It's like these are individuals that have managed to accomplish something unique to me, and that is their individual careers have actually kind of parroted the iconic Motown stuff. I mean, we still listen to Motown. We still go, if we hear, dome, 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 dome. We know exactly what
we all got sunshine.
Exactly what that is.
Yeah.
So there are very few artists who have made that leap, where as an individual artist, that their music is considered and treasured like all of Motown is.
Absolutely.
And I think that some of those you should talk about that. I think you should, if you can give an idea of what that person would be like if they were still here singing today, then that all the better for it. So yeah, you're gonna get all the hits, you're gonna get all of that, but you're gonna get a lot more than that. You're gonna get all of me, and all of somebody, and a lot of somebody else as well. Not that you only do small pieces of enough of it to to whet your palate and to satisfy you quite a bit. But you don't make a thing out of it. And then a guy like me who's done, she's 49 duets.
Oh yeah, we'll get into. I'm
It's
sure
not, Jason. It's not something that you start out trying to do.
Right.
You don't. There's not a plan for that. Suddenly I just because of Roberta Flack choosing me out of the blue, you suddenly become the person that everybody wants to sing with for some reason.
That's a good.
I don't know. I don't know what that is. And if I had done one duet project prior to Roberta Flack, and that was I did an entire album project with Natalie Cole. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know how to really do a duet project at that particular point. It was not until I met Roberta Flack and started to work with her that I learned to do it. Because she's a teacher and she teaches you how to, I learned from her how to play to a person's strengths and weaknesses equally. It's a wild concept, but
right.
It taught me about how to give and take in a duet, and nobody does it better than she does.
Oh yeah, and of course, just in case maybe some of our listeners can't remember it, of course, it was Tonight I Celebrate My Love is what you're talking about.
Which I did not like, Jason. The first time I heard
really?
it, I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
1983, you didn't like it when you heard it.
I didn't like it. It could have been because Michael Masson was singing it to me. God, he was awful as a singer. It was one of the greatest writers, most prolific writers of all time, but when he's trying to sing that melody, it is terrible. I mean, it's bad, man.
Well, but when the actual finished product, when you got a hold of it, you guys.
Well, no, here's the thing. I did not understand what it really was until we made a pass at it, and we went back in the studio to listen to that pass. And I was like, wow, that's a really good song. I had no idea. It was a good song until I listened to the first playback.
Wow. Thank you for telling me all about that one. Hey, real quick, even before that though, tell me about how you grew up in South Carolina in 1950, born in 51, and I want to know. Well, you mentioned Temptations and stuff, the Motown sound and all that. You mentioned that a few seconds ago, but I want to know, was that sort of the music that you got into, or how did you start singing yourself?
Listen, let me explain something to you. My folks beat the living crap out of me once because they got the phone bill and they're like, who made all these long distance calls to Detroit?
You're calling Motown.
Listen, I called them so much. Let me tell you, Jason, I got past the receptionist and actually got to talk to an A&R person.
Oh wow, you were like a step away from Berry Gordy.
No, listen. I was a step away from Berry Gordy, and let me tell you something. Every time there was a change in the Temptations, I was on it, man, and I got the living crap beat out of me again. My folks were like, what's wrong with you? I mean, they thought I was insane. But I wanted to be one of the Temptations so badly, and I felt like I could replace any one of the Temptations. That's the way I felt. I was crazy. I was crazy at the time. I felt that I could do it. So I would call and call and call. And I called so much that people along the way in the chain of command, and they started to take pity on me.
Who's this guy running up this long distance charges?
But growing up in the South is like growing up in South Carolina is a great education to prepare you for the world, and that you learn when you're born and raised in the South how to live with adversity without becoming bitter.
Right.
That's a very thin line to walk, and you have to understand that I was sitting in the room when we were deciding what black identity was going to be. What did black actually mean?
Right.
So you started, how should we think of ourselves when we stopped allowing everybody else to think for us or decide what we should be or which direction we were going and all that.
Right.
We suddenly became aware of economic power that were not willing. We learned that from Rosa Parks, of course,
Right.
but we learned stuff. So you learn how to. Then there was politics, and then I started to understand what politics really was. It's not personal preference.
Right.
It's exactly. It has nothing to do with who you really are as an individual. It just who has the power and who's wielding it, and do you
Right.
want to be a part of that?
Right.
So I started to understand all that very early. And so South Carolina being what it was and what it is the Carolinas in general are it's a really good place to start and get a great education about what the world is really like. And I started traveling way back then, and that gave me a whole different perspective on the world, because you're out there in it and you learn things that you could never learn from a book or from as I'm an incessant reader, always have been, still am.
It's great.
But it's you can't learn things from a book. Practical experiences, everything. My mother taught me something a long time ago. She said, "Nothing but nothing beats experience," and that's true. So I spent I was in a top 40 band. We spent 6 months in Haiti. It's like I thought I knew what poverty was.
Right.
Nah, when you land there, I cried coming from the airport, going to the hotel, and I cried going to the airport. From the hotel. It's like it's one of those things that but then at the same time, I learned so much while I was there about the world, and then I got the bug for wanting to know what Europe was like and all that. Having met some people that were raised there, I wanted to stretch out, and fortunately enough, I've seen all of Asia Minor, and you get a chance to see all those things, and and then there's the whole French thing which I like, and then there's the whole Italian thing that I like, and then
Right.
so you get out there. I think being from South Carolina and growing up in that environment made me thirsty more than anything else. It made me thirsty for knowledge.
I'm glad that you went and traveled and seized that knowledge and pursued that knowledge. Because a lot of people just, stay in their comfort zone. I appreciate that you went off and did that. So
that helps with the music, though. If you compose it, that just helps with the music. It helps it stretch out. It helps your perspective stretch out. So you reach more people. And so over time, you reach a lot of people. And finally, it's like my goal was always to write a song that is, or record a song or sing a song that the world would sing along with me.
Oh, you've had a couple of those. I can name a couple. I can name a couple Disney tunes that everybody knows. But let's before we get to those, I want to hit some of your other, you mentioned the Roberta Flack, Tonight I Celebrate My Love, but then you outside of your duets, you had a couple, solo hits too. I guess your first top 10 single, I guess, was If You're in My Arms Again.
Exactly. Actually, it went number one on one of the pop charts.
So that's so awesome. Well, just remember memories of recording that in '84. That was my birth year, by the way, just to blow your mind. I was born that year.
Well, no, Jason, listen, let me explain something. Michael Masser again. So, it's like this, now this guy's a mad genius. You got to understand that. I sang If Ever You're in My Arms Again every day for 11 days, 8 hours a day. He ended up with 120 vocal tracks. Woo. And he made a comp from all of them.
Wow.
No, and he spent over $300,000 making this record.
Wow.
I thought Capitol Records was going to have him killed. It's like, and they just kind of let him run with it. Actually, what we were talking about my experience with recording If Ever You're in My Arms Again.
Yeah.
And we were talking about my experience with the mad genius Michael Masser. I sang that song for 11 days, 8 hours a day, over and over and over and over again until it was coming out of my ears. And he had 120 vocal tracks that he kept out of all that singing. and he actually made a composition of using all 120.
Wow.
Spent an absolute fortune making this record, and Capitol Records did not stop him for whatever reason. But again, my first number one pop record is like if you reach that thing, if you reach top 5 pop, that's great. Just so that, but having done so many duets as a solo artist to achieve that in that moment was very, I think, extraordinarily special for me, you know. But I just looked at him one day on the 11th day and said, listen, whatever you don't have, you're not gonna have.
Right.
I'm not gonna come in tomorrow and sing this song ever again.
Right.
So he said, oh, what? I said, tell you what, hold on a second. I'll be right back. I didn't come back.
Hey, 11 days, you did your time.
Listen, Jason, there was a sign at the end of the street in West Hollywood that said Cantina.
That's where you went.
Yep, that's where I went.
So instead of day 12 recording that, I'm going to be at the Cantina. All right. Well, it paid off. It paid off.
It really did. I mean, he doesn't like anybody. I tell you what, recording a Michael Masters song is like doing a Neil Simon play.
Right.
There's no improv. I don't care if you're Robin Williams.
Stick to the script.
Stick to the script. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't care what your improv skills are. He didn't want any of that. He just wanted the melody. Period. His melody.
Right.
And he wanted you to sing it like he would if he could sing.
Right. And you were the voice. You were the channel that the instrument that he channeled it through.
Any interpretation at all, he's going to take that out. It's not going to be there. It's going to be on the cutting floor somewhere.
Right. Yeah. After 11 days, I bet. Well, and you had another solo hit with Can You Stop the Rain in 91. Man, maybe it's just nostalgia for when I grew up, but I missed that 90s R&B, that production value of the early to mid 90s. I missed that.
You know what? There were great producers. There have always been great producers, and I've been fortunate enough to work with, well, pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
And they all have a different perspective. Working with David Foster, he doesn't really care about your interpretation. He's not interested in your feeling about the song. The only thing he cares about that's fine if you can do it, but you have to do it in pitch.
Okay.
The only thing he cares about is pitch. He just doesn't care. I think it's because he's one of those people that has like perfect pitch.
Right.
And so anything that's marginal is like fingernails on a chalkboard to them.
Right.
So he's that's the only thing he cares about. He cares about pitch. Sing the melody, sing it right, put as much feeling in it as you possibly can. It's a great melody. I'm going to give it to you. You can do what you want with it, except for destroy it. And you have to do whatever you do in pitch. So that's great. Whereas you got what you're talking about is the great music that he made, the great production that he made, one of the greatest production teams of ever. Then you got Walter Afanasieff, who did all the Whitney Houston stuff and all of the Mariah Carey hits, that all the stuff that you like and you love and that are classics that will always be here. And you will always be in awe of what that production was and what those performances were. You will always be in awe of that. So he's that, but he's a pleading kind of producer. He's one of those guys that he said, man, God, if you sing that like that again, he said, man, I'm not a girl, but man, I'm feeling you in here. He's one of the guys. He's like, after an hour with this guy, you want to kill for him. You know, you want to give him your best vocal performance. He could suck that out of you in the nicest way possible. I thought his approach was genius, and his and the kindest approach I've ever seen. And good God, in terms of production, who would want to put a big booming snare with that was wet. It's like what, like somebody was poured a gallon of water over the snare and said, you know, it's like who thinks like that? And then these off key, off rhythm things that he would do that made it all make sense and recorded great vocals. Then you got people like Keith Thomas, who's like, he believes that Lay's potato chips would help your high tone.
Really? Just
no,
Lay's? Not barbecue original.
No,
it's gotta be original.
The classic.
Classic. You gotta do it gets that classic sound.
Well, no, there's something about, he says there's something about the oil and it goes over the vocal cords and it makes your top better. It's like, so he's got him actually in the booth. So no, eat some chips and he'll suggest it to you.
Give him some chips. Don't give me no Pringles, no Utz,
no,
Lay's.
No. Eat some Lay's, eat some chips.
That's hilarious.
No, these guys are nuts, but you know, but he's really good at again, that production value you're talking about. These are the guys that had the production value. And then you got, I'm now working with Jam and Lewis.
Those guys are great. We just talked to them a couple weeks ago. I love them.
Kidding?
Nicest guys in the world.
I mean, we have maybe, I think we have 2 more songs, maybe 1, maybe none, according to Jimmy. It depends on what, or Terry, because once they think they got it, they feel like they have it, then they're just going to stop anyway. But their process is so unique and so different. They're 2 of the finest human beings I've ever met. We're like-minded in many different ways. We're family-oriented, we're spiritual, and we're practical in our philosophies and our approaches and all that kind of stuff. But we are what we are. And we're old enough to be unapologetic at this particular point, which makes for a fun time and all that. You know, it's but their process is, they want as much of your personality, of the artist's personality in the music as possible. Their egos, that it's actually the absence of ego that's most astounding about them.
Yeah.
They don't care about that. They're like, no, you're gonna help do this. It's like, no, you're gonna write this. You're gonna help write this. I mean, you hear something, what do you hear? And why do you hear it that way? You know, okay, let's try it. So they're not, it's a collective process that I've never seen before. It's totally unique, and that's probably one of the reasons why they've been so astoundingly successful. You know, there are no hard lines. They don't get upset.
Yeah,
they just move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. You've been generous with your time, but before we run, we have to talk the Disney songs, of course. Everyone knows and loves those. Start with the Celine Dion duet on Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Disney songs. How things come about is like, I'd taken a place in New York, so I could talk to my A&R guy. I could go down there and talk to him, because if he's going to listen to a couple thousand songs or a couple hundred songs for me to find 10 or 20 to try, then I should probably go down there and listen with him, because he doesn't know exactly what my taste is or what it isn't.
Sure.
So 2 things happened there. I was down there listening, and I didn't like anything he was playing for me. And he said, well, I was considering this song for a female artist on Columbia. I just want your opinion, so that will help me understand what kind of music you're looking for. So I said, okay. I listened, and the song was, it was a female vocalist singing a demo of "Can You Stop the Rain?" And he said, well, what do you think? I said, I think it'd be a good song for her, but I think it'd be a great song for me. He said, really? You would sing that? I said, all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. And he said, do you know who Celine Dion is? I said, yeah. He said, she's on Columbia too. I said, oh, really? He said, how would you feel about singing something with her in the future, duet? And I said, I'd love to. I said, she's an incredible instrument. We didn't have a song.
Right.
Now my A&R person was a guy named whose name is Jay Landers. His father was Hal Landers, who was king of the B movies, Smoking the Bandit, the whole nine yards.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So through his father's connections and growing up in the film industry, he somehow got access to the new animation from Disney.
Right.
So he said, so they let him see the animation because it was cutting edge at the time. So he said, wow, this is terrific. He said, question, is there any music? And they said, funny you should ask. There's a song. So and then you have to go through the channels of, they have to decide whether at Disney, Michael and I would, Katzenberg at the time was still at Disney, had to decide who was going to sing this song if I was the guy.
Right.
So Katzenberg says, "Oh, he saw my name on the list." He said, "Oh, well, I'm gonna recuse myself because I think this guy's probably one of the greatest male vocalists on the planet."
Hey, that's high praise.
Well, yeah, no, it is, but you got people that are trying to impress him around, so they were like, "Oh yeah, well that's So it worked out that. So I listened to this song, and it's one of those songs that was so haunting. Alan Menken and Tim Rice, these guys are
geniuses.
Genius, and then more genius. And so you're looking at them, and I'm listening to this song. I'm going, geez, am I ever going to get tired of listening to it?
Right.
Not
11 days in a row. Am I going to be?
Exactly.
That's your test.
Now that I would do more than 11 days in a row. But it turns out you don't have to. So Celine and I actually did not meet until studio.
Oh, okay.
So she's on this other side of this partition with a glass in the middle, right? And she's looking at me and hoping that I can stand up to my reputation at that point. I'm thinking, because she probably blows people out of the water.
Right, of course.
So she looks across at me and she sings some of her B stuff, and I smile at her and I send her some of my B stuff, and then she smiles at me and sends me some of her A stuff, and I smile at her and sends some of my. Oh, we're done now. I was just like, it was I love her. I always have. I think she's one of the kindest and most thoughtful human beings I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh,
and she's certainly one of the most talented.
It is two all-timer voices with you two together, and I know Angela Lansbury sings it in the storyline in the movie, but you guys on that end credits, it won the song won the Oscar. You won a Grammy. I mean, it is all-time stuff. Did you guys do the version? Did Angela Lansbury do this for the movie like simultaneously as you guys are recording the end credits one?
No.
How does that work?
That's separate, and we almost didn't know we were going to actually be able to perform it at the Oscars until the week of the Oscars.
Whoa! But so you just get a tux ready, you get really fast, and you get that's got to be.
She wanted to sing it, and I'm a Sweeney Todd fan. I love Angela Lansbury. I mean, she wrote and the whole line. I'm a big fan.
The Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah, right. The Manchurian. I had mad respect for her, but she wanted to sing it. She wanted to sing it at the Oscars, and was like, "You're a teapot. What are you gonna wear?" Yeah,
you can't wear the teapot.
No, you can't wear the teapot. Then if you don't wear the teapot, it's not.
We gotta let the pop duo go sing it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So we compromised, and she sang a verse of our version or her version, whichever one it was, and then we sang the song. So it was cool. But now Disney doesn't repeat. They don't like to go back to the same artist.
Right.
So when Aladdin came up and a whole new world came around, they didn't want to. They were trying all these different pairings, like Gloria Estefan and Axl Rose.
Whoa, I never think about that.
Yeah, I know, right? It was like,
I can't even imagine that.
Well, exactly.
Oh, new world.
Yeah. It's like and Gloria's a fine singer. I mean, and Axl does his thing within his.
Oh, I love Guns N' Roses, but I can't imagine it on Aladdin. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that was a bridge too far. So they tried all these combinations that these people everybody was coming up with, and they had to come back to me.
Let's call Peabo again. We can't get this to work. We got to bring in the All-Star again.
Yeah, let's try this. And they came up with Regina Belle because Regina Belle is, if a song is difficult, the thing you have to understand, Jason, is that the Disney songs, they don't come with like a playbook or a prequel that you can, they don't come like that. It's whatever you give it. Nobody in the recording session, nobody makes one vocal suggestion to you.
You are inventing it from the right there, from the ground up.
Right, as we sing, we are inventing it. It's all about interpretation at that particular point.
Right,
and I think that's what makes it so special. You're the first one to sing to record a song, and whatever you give it is, whatever character you give it is going to last forever. And gazillions of people are going to hear it exactly as you gave it. Mm-hmm. So Regina Belle, her great talent to me is, if it's difficult, it's almost impossible to interpret. It's cake to her. She's just, it's the easiest thing in the world to her, and that's her signature to me. And I knew that about her, but I really knew it in that moment. All that interpretation, all that stuff, all that the work she did at Rutgers, it all came to bear in that moment.
Yeah,
you live your whole life to live that moment that you're in, and that's what the Disney songs represent. If one song represents, if you would know true beauty, that you would have to look past its outside to its inside to see what its heart really is and what its soul is and all that. And there's a greater lesson for our children to learn. I don't know what it is. And then you got A Whole New World, which is a representation of every hope, our greatest hope, our greatest promise, our greatest everything, our bestest best. How are they not going to last forever? And they were the number 1 and 2, actually number 1 sellers at success-wise in Disney history until Frozen.
Well, they were massive. Yeah, well, the Whole New World, that also won the Oscar. You guys won a Grammy for that. You got to go perform back at the Oscars again, right? So
you don't get that, but you get everything else.
Wait, but did you go perform again though? Didn't you? For the second, you didn't go the second time? No, you didn't. No. Well, either way, we spoke with Regina Belle a couple of weeks ago when she came to DC, and she just sang your highest praises. It was great. So,
she's absolutely amazing. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's like it's the funniest thing in the world to do. I mean, we were down at Disney doing the video shoot, right? And suddenly the shoot just shut down for like a couple of hours. It's like, what's going on here, man? And so the director says, "Well, come here, I'll show you." And he plays back the thing, and Regina comes out of this tent. She goes, "A whole new world," and Regina's chesty, well endowed, and 10-year-olds can't take it. 10-year-olds couldn't take it. So they were trying to figure out some kind of way for her not to be so chesty. So they were trying different angles and different things, and they didn't know if it was going to have to come down to something physical to hold everything to a Disney standard and a Disney perspective. It's like they're very serious about stuff like that.
Right.
And I can't blame them, because Disney's message hasn't really changed. It's a good one. It's wholesome, and they're not two iconic institutions in the world that can actually say that and actually prove it.
Consistently over so long, yeah.
Working with Disney was probably the greatest honor of my life.
Yeah.
My sister was actually a member of the Mickey Mouse Club. I wasn't.
Really?
No, my parents wouldn't let me do it.
Oh, come on. Yeah, you know why? That was your punishment for calling Detroit so much. You're grounded. Sister, go to Mickey Mouse, but Peabo's grounded. Oh, that's great. Well, speaking of that, just you said you have a 4-year-old running around off camera. Has he seen Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast? Is he discovering these?
My 4-year-old absolutely refuses to accept that I'm famous. No, he's like, that makes him. He's got a thing. Listen, he's got a thing about it. Jason, this little boy, I have relative pitch. He has perfect pitch.
David Foster would like his pitch.
Yes, David's going to like him a whole lot more than he likes me.
Yeah.
It's like, but my thing is with him is, okay, I try to explain to him I'm more famous than Miguel in the movie Coco.
Oh, of course, great movie.
And I said, I said, look, man, I'm not. I'm more famous. Daddy's more famous than Miguel. No, you're not. No, I mean, we get into physical arguments about who. I said, I'm more famous than Ernesto de la Cruz. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. But he refuses to accept that. He accepts it when I'm physically working. He'll come on stage and sing something with me or sing something in front of me. He doesn't.
Right.
He'll sing something in front of 2,000 people in a heartbeat.
Right.
Doesn't bother. Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been awesome. Thanks for taking me through the whole journey. That was fantastic. Again, everybody, Peabo Bryson is coming to Bethesda Blues and Jazz this Saturday night. So get your tickets now. Go on a magic carpet ride with the legend himself. Hey, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, and by the way, I made a mistake. I have been to that venue before, and I love that venue. By the way,
you have been to Bethesda Blues and Jazz.
Yeah,
right?
I love that. I love that venue, and I love the audience that comes there, and I love the people that own and run that venue. They are the very best people. I have these lapses from time to time, but they are the best people, and that's one of my favorite gigs to do ever. They're the best.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait for you to come back. So, hey, thank you so much. We'll see you Saturday.